Hi everyone, welcome to THT, and today we're going to talk about what is the most efficient way to get yourself a competitive deck, but also more broadly, what is my personal strategy for collecting cards in Star Wars Unlimited. This is not normally a subject that I talked about very often because I'm mostly a channel focused on competitive play, but in order to play competitively, we need a deck, and to get a deck, of course, we're going to need to collect cards. And there are ways to collect cards that are more efficient than others. And trading card games can be particularly tricky. It's not as straightforward as for a living card game where you simply just buy all the expansions. Here, there is some subtle aspect that you kind of need to understand in order to be able to do this without spending more money than you should. Hopefully you can learn a thing or two on this guide, and let's touch on to my first tip of the day. And my first tip is to set yourself an objective and a budget before starting to collect something. So whenever a new set hits, you always should ask yourself the question, what are my objectives? Is there just a specific deck that I want to build? Is there I want to be able to buy to play any deck that I want? Do I need a playset of every single card in a set, or do I just need to have the playset of the meta cards? Do you want to play a full hyperspace deck? Do you want to play a full hyperspace foil deck? All those questions needs to be answered before you get to start collecting, because it's gonna basically direct you into, it's gonna funnel your effort into a specific area, and it's gonna help you collecting as well, and it's gonna kind of determine how many booster box you're gonna buy and all that stuff. So this is to me a very important factor to set before you ever start anything. So couple of tips here. So set yourself an objective that works with your budget. Don't have an objective that is disproportionate compared to your budget. So if your budget is, let's say, 500 euro for per month, this budget is more than enough for collecting a playset of every single card, but it might be a little bit short if you are intending to get yourself a full collection for the entire, if you want a playset of every single card in Hyperfoil, let's say. So set yourself a budget that is realistic with the objective that you set yourself. It's hard to tell exactly how much money does each of the objective cost, but I can give you some sort of guidance on this, depending on what is that there is to do, what is going to be the likely budget. So for example, my objectives for each of the sets has been to collect a playset of every single card in the game. And so far, I've managed to complete that objective by spending about 400 euros at initial release between the different booster box and buying singles, and then simply just spending about 50 euros a month just on drafting, just basically just drafting every once in a while for fun. This kind of has been kind of my budget. So kind of think about what is kind of your objective, and set yourself a budget. It's very important because opening packs can be a little bit addictive. So if you set yourself a budget limit, this is going to help you limit yourself in terms of what you are actually spending. The step number two is, once you set yourself a budget, make sure that your partner or anybody that you live in, whether it's your wife, your mom, your siblings, anybody that you share a budget with, make sure that they are okay with the budget that you've set yourself. Because if you set yourself a budget but you're not able to achieve it because the other person is not, and if it affects your life, then that's not good either. So basically, make sure that your partner is okay with the budget that you set for yourself and stick to it. And finally, the third tip is to organize your collection. I see a lot of people that don't have very well organized collection, and in the end, they end up just getting multiple times the same cards. They get yourself more than 3 times the same card by mistake, that kind of thing. Also, make sure that your collection is properly organized so you know exactly what you need to get for yourself as things move on. So one way that I personally do things is that I try to I have Star Wars DB, a database where I basically I put on there all the cards that I want to acquire, and as I'm trading or buying those cards, I basically update this list constantly, and then this allows me to, in a very efficient way, to keep track of the card that I need to collect. And then my cards are usually don't sit in a binder because I like to actually play with my cards, so I build decks with them and stuff. So it's hard for me to keep all my cards in one place. So this Star Wars DB deck that I've made allows me to. There's plenty of collection tracker that you can use. I use S2DB because I knew this one very well, but I'm sure there's other ones you can do. And this basically allows me to keep track in a very easy way about what the card that I need without having to break down my deck, without having to search through my decks constantly because I'm always constantly building decks and using cards. So, and at least this allows me to know kind of what are the cards that I've acquired and what are the cards that I need. So now let's talk about what is, in my opinion, the most cost-efficient way to acquire cards. So we'll start first with the first tip is unless you're very early on during the release of the set, singles are always going to be cheaper than booster packs. So there's an exception to that rule. Uh, there's an exception to that rule, right? So for example, if you bought a lot of boosters early on in Spark of Rebellion because it was the first release for the game and the game was not super hyped at the very beginning. There's a lot of people who didn't believe that this game would be a success. Booster box were fairly cheap and singles were very cheap as well. And then the price kind of completely went up once the game started to pick up in popularity. So obviously, if you're in that situation, then buying booster boxes was a good idea. Was a very good idea, but eventually the market always catches up. And basically, and there's a very simple reason for this is because obviously the more people open boosters, the more offers there is out there, and the more offer there is, the more price goes down. And if it ever becomes that the expected value of a booster box, so the expected value is basically the price of the card on the secondary market multiplied by the odds of actually acquiring that card. And if you basically set the expected value of a booster box, and this expected value is higher than buying those cards individually, then it becomes more interesting to buy. So basically, if the expected value of the booster box is over the price of the booster box, that means the booster box basically will give you more than what it cost. But the thing is, this is almost never the case. And the reason is that if there was the case, people would simply buy more booster box and resell as singles the card, and then the price would just go back down because the offer would increase. Offer and demand. If the offer is higher than the demand, price goes down. So basically, if you ever at a point where the expected value of a booster box is higher than its price, either the price of if there's product shortage, the price of the booster box is going to go up, which is what we've been experiencing in Spark of Rebellion, where basically while the EV of the booster box was so high that price went up because people were not able to buy more booster box because there was product shortage. But if you're in an environment where there's unlimited supply, or at least there's no supply shortage, in this case, the expected value of the cards will go down as people buy more booster box and sell more singles, which will crush the price of singles and reduce the price of booster box. So, long story short, it is always cheaper and most efficient to buy singles rather than buying booster box. It's kind of the long story short. But I will go over it later on, explaining why is it still a good idea to buy booster box. But I'll go about this later on. The second tip I give is if you know something that the market doesn't, use that to your advantage. So one of the good examples for this is Darth Maul. I think like for example Darth Maul right now is, at least in Europe, it's sold for about $10. I think this is way overpriced for a Maul because I think he's quite a bit stronger. He's a strong card, no denying this, but the amount of decks in which he actually can see plays are very small. He's a very niche rare, and I don't think there's any way a rare of that power can be that expensive. So I use this to my advantage, and I don't buy Mauls because I know that the price is going to go down later on. And on the other hand, for example, Wrecker and Bazine, I think as rares are widely undervalued. I think Wreckers goes for around. I've seen Wreckers going for as low as $6, €6 in on card market at the moment. At the moment I'm shooting this video, I think this price is ludicrous. I think Wrecker is the best rare in the set, and if it's not as expensive as a K2SO, as what K2SO or Red 3 was in set 1, that means something is very weird, because Wrecker is, in my opinion, the best rare in the set and one of the top 4 best card in the set. So, in my opinion, it's undervalued. So that means it's a good moment to buy Wreckers, and so you can use that to your advantage. Obviously, there's always a risk factor to this, but because you're not always right. But if you know something that the market doesn't know, then you can use that to your advantage to get cards cheaper or to avoid overpriced cards and anticipate what is going to go up and when it's going to go down. My third tip is to not buy a starter set. So you might be a little bit surprised by this, because starter set contains a starter exclusive card that you cannot get anywhere else. But overall, I found that starter sets are quite expensive. They go down for around between 35 and 40 euros, which is quite expensive. And the rares that it contains, are very cheap, because by definition they are rares you can get from starter sets, so they are very cheap. Therefore, they don't really provide a lot of value. Once again, their expected value is very low. And the starter exclusive card can be obtained through OP packs. So you don't even need to buy starter sets. All you need to do is just buy an OP pack, just to go to your weekly play, to go to your local game store, and you'll be collecting OP packs. Now, I have more OP cards that I could ever know what to do with them. And I have multiple playsets of all the starter cards, even though I've never bought a starter set for Spark of Rebellion. And I anticipate it's going to be the exact same thing with Shadows of the Galaxy. If you attend as many weekly play as you can, you will be able to get those starter cards over time very easily virtually for free, just by showing up in your local game store. If you want to trade those hyperspace ones for normal ones, you can simply trade them to a friend that bought a starter set. You just trade them the hyperspace to get the normal one if you prefer to have the normal ones. But anyway, I don't think buying a starter set is worth it. You get Gideon and the Mandalorian simply by attending your pre-release, and you get the hyperspace version of those. So once again, if you attend the pre-release and you attend weekly play, there's no reason to buy a starter set. Starter sets are not products that are meant for advanced players or players who necessarily play in tournaments. They are intended for people to discover the game. They are, as I said, starter sets. They are for players who don't know the game. So don't buy those products. I mean, obviously there are exceptions to this. If you do not intend to go to your weekly play, if you didn't attend the pre-release, then obviously you're going to need to buy a starter set. But generally speaking, I advise anybody who has a local community to attend weekly play. That's how you keep the community alive. So it's better for your community to show up, and it will also save you money if you don't have to buy a starter set. So that's another little tip that I have. So I didn't buy a starter set for Spark of Rebellion, and within a few weeks I had all the play sets of the starter cards that I needed. So here I'm going to make a case of why you should buy booster boxes anyway. So I've already said before that buying booster box is less cost efficient than buying singles, and if you really want to get a deck as quickly as possible and as cheap as possible, the best way is to choose a time where prices are relatively low, and then basically buy all those singles that you need. And it's going to be much cheaper than buying booster box. But I believe that buying booster box has other benefits, which I'm going to be detailing now. So the first thing is that obviously it is fun to open booster packs. It's fun to open randomized boosters. It is part of the intended experience of trading card games. And if you're not engaging with this, you simply just buy singles online, you are missing out on a big part of what makes trading card game fun. So this is obviously subjective. If you don't find this to be a fun activity, obviously you shouldn't engage with it. And for a lot of people, it's okay to buy booster boxes, even if it's a little bit less efficient, because simply opening booster box is fun. With that being said, and where there's a big caveat here, is that the fun of opening booster box is basically decreased over time as you open more of them. So the first few booster box are very fun to open, And then as you open more and more of them, it becomes less and less fun. And the reason for this is because at the beginning you're excited for any good uncommon that you get, any good rare that you get is exciting. And then if you get like a showcase or a very strong legendary, it's just basically a bonus. Um, Opening and as you open more booster box, then your standards are going to become higher and higher. So basically, after the fifth or sixth booster box, you're going to start expecting getting showcases. You're going to start expecting to see super rare hyperspace foil, and if you don't get them, it can be a very frustrating experience. So, in my opinion, and once again, you start becoming bored. Like any regular booster that just simply gives you like a good rare, like it doesn't really make the cut anymore. It's kind of the same as taking drugs, to be honest. I don't like the analogy because I don't think it's the same thing, but there's this element of like you getting used to the drug, and eventually at some point it completely wears off, and you need higher and higher quantities to get a shot of it. So I think that the first two or three booster boxes are very fun to open, but then anything beyond this, then the fun start to go down. So it's convenient to get your common and uncommon. So buying singles on the internet to get your rares and legendaries is fine, but if you have to buy online all of your commons and uncommons, it becomes a little bit more complicated and annoying. Most likely you're gonna have a friend that can simply give you the spare commons and uncommon that he has. But you don't always have access to this. It is convenient that after 2 or 3 booster box, you basically will get all the commons and uncommons that you're ever gonna need. Obviously, playing draft and sealed is great fun, and this is a part of the hobby that I strongly encourage you to engage with if you've never done this before. And it's a very fun way to open packs. Simply just play draft with your friend or play sealed and have fun playing games, building decks. Is a great way to start playing the game when you have not yet acquired all the meta card that you need to play a proper constructed deck, where no problem you can simply play draft and seal you get the card that you need. It's a very fun experience. It's especially early on in the set. It's a really great way to. And obviously this involves opening packs. So in these circumstances, of course, it's completely okay, if not encouraged, to buy packs. Um, so one of the inconvenience of buying booster boxes is that you're gonna get some card that you need, and you're gonna get some cards that you don't need, depending on your objective. So me personally, I don't play with any hyperspace or hyperspace foil cards, or even regular foil for that matter. So what I do is, whenever I open a booster box, I simply trade away all the hyperspace foil that I need, and I trade them for regular cards. And you can definitely cut your losses, and even sometimes break even with a box if you do good trades. Um, so obviously, and trading is part once again of the intended experience of trading card game. It's literally in the name, trading card game. If you are basically playing a trading card game, but you never traded any cards in your life, you are effectively not engaging with a very important part of what a trading card game is. It's very fun to trade cards, do deals with your friends, and acquiring new card that way is very fun. And if you're definitely buying booster boxes and you're not trading, you're losing out on a lot of the value of the box, like, because there's going to be a significant number of cards you're never going to play. Uh, so obviously you want to trade those cards away in order to get the card that you want and get more value out of your box. So with all that being said, what is my personal strategy to reach my objective? So my objective personally is to get a playset of every single meta card in uh, every single meta card in the set. So basically, my thought process is that I mean, this usually involves also getting a playset of every single card in the game. It's almost the same thing, but prioritizing, of course, the meta cards. And my objective is eventually to get all the playset of every single card in the game. So how do I approach this? The first thing I do is I buy basically between 2 and about 3 booster box in total. So this involves usually buying 2 booster boxes and then attending about 4 pre-release. 4 pre-release, and this gives me the equivalent of about 4 booster box. So the objective of buying those initial booster boxes first getting some cards to trade because I like to trade cards and it's fun. It gives me all the uncommons and commons that I want, and it gives me, of course, some card that I'm gonna need to. It gives me a base of card that I'm gonna need to play the game. Some legendaries and some rares that I need to play the game. And sometimes I even get a showcase. I got fortunate enough to get a showcase on my first booster box. I bought 2 booster boxes for Spark of Rebellion, and I bought 3 booster boxes for Shadow of the Galaxy. And I got a showcase in both. I got a showcase Krennic on Spark of Rebellion, and I got a showcase Mandalorian in Shadow of the Galaxy. So I was very fortunate on that, and I can then resell those to get once again more cards because I don't play with showcases. The only showcase I play with is with my hand showcase, is because I play the deck so much that obviously I needed a showcase with that for that one. But anyway, also I find the art so much better than the traditional one. So yeah, yeah, that's my initial thing. I just like to trade cards. My second objective is to trade as many cards as I can. So I'm gonna try to squeeze as much value as possible out of every single box that I've opened by trading as many cards as I can. All the cards I don't know. So usually this involves trading either the card that I'm not gonna play because they're not competitive cards, or cards that are hyperspace, hyperspace foil or foil that I can trade to get regular version of those cards. And my third strategy is within the first month of release, I'm going to try to buy singles to complete my playset. So once I've opened my booster box and traded the cards I needed, I usually look for the cards that I'm missing, to get the playset that I need. And depending on what I'm missing, I'm going to try to buy those cards. So the reason why I try to buy cards basically within the first months of release is because usually at the beginning of an expansion release, card price is going to be at its lowest. And the reason for this is very simple, is because there's no tournaments early on in the month, so people are not in a hurry to get certain super competitive cards. And at the same time, so the demand is at its lowest, and the offer is at its highest because people are literally just opening tons of booster boxes. So literally the first month after release is usually the best time to acquire singles. I mean, and it's also the moment is the most relevant because it is before the tournament season is usually going to be the months after. And a lot of people also don't know what cards to buy. That's why they don't buy early on, and then they buy too late, and they end up having to spend crazy prices. So I did this, for example, with Vigilances. In the first set, Vigilances price was very low. You could get your Vigilance for $10, and I bought them. And then they ended up then during the tournament season where the meta decks appeared, the price of those staples kind of went up, and I saved a lot of money that way. So try to get the card that you want to get within the first month of release. So then, because it's the moment where the demand is at its lowest and the offer is at its highest, which leads to lower price usually. So currently we are about 2 weeks after the release of the game, and I've almost completed all of my playset. I think I'm just missing a Kylo TIE Silencer, and I'll basically have all the legendaries that I want for the set. At least all the meta cards that I need for the set. Let me give you a couple of tips to trade cards. First tip that I give is whenever you're trading card with someone, please check the price before you trade. Especially the hyperspace, the hyperfold, and legendaries, the price can vary widely. So even on the rares, the price can vary widely. I was, for example, very surprised by the price of Wreckers, which currently goes for €6 at the moment. And yeah, so be very, very mindful about the price of the cards. So check the price of the cards on the internet before you start a trade. Unless you're really trading low value cards, please pay attention because price can vary widely and you can end up losing a lot of money that way. So be very careful with this whenever you trade. Check the price before you make a trade. Yeah, I know it's a little bit tedious, but you can really miss out on a lot of money if you're not doing it. The second tip I give is to trade your cards with people who have different objectives than yours. I find it very difficult to trade with other players like me, people who play very competitive decks. And the reason for this is because they are looking for the same card as I do. So it's very difficult to find to make trade with those people. So I usually prefer to trade with collectors because collectors are going to be looking for the hyperspace and the hyperspace full card that I'm trading away, and they're going to be looking to get rid of their regular cards. So trading cards with people who have different objectives than yours are is a it usually leads to better trades in general. Where to buy? Here's the question of where to buy cards. Um, where should you buy your cards? And for this, the first the first tip I can give is to always buy sealed booster box from trusted sources, preferably, sorry, your local game store. So why is that so? Well, the thing is there's been some a pattern of legendaries and basically an order in which legendaries appear in each booster box. So that means that if you open, so there's a list of legendaries, and on that list of legendaries, there is basically a pattern of like that if you open a booster box, your regular legendaries, it doesn't apply to hyperspace or hyperspace foil or foil, but for regular legendaries, you know that if you get a specific legendaries, you know that you only gonna get the card that are adjacent to it, either on the right or on the left. And that means that obviously there's certain legendaries that you know for a fact you're not going to be able to get, and there's other legendaries that you are very likely to get in that box. And you can predict, and apparently this issue still exists with Shadow of the Galaxy, and it even goes further. Some people have been able to predict rares and stuff. So I'm not going to get into the details of this. There's people who made dedicated videos about it. But all you need to, and I personally find it that if you are looking exactly, and if you know what the order is, it kind of ruin the excitement of opening booster box. So personally, even though I know this pattern exists, I actually don't know what is the exact pattern because I don't want to ruin my own booster opening experience. But it is important to know that this exists, and for a very simple reason is because they are very uh, uh, evil people who actually would open a few boosters of the booster box, figure out what the pattern of the rest of the booster is, and then repackage those boosters, those low value boosters, in a box in order to and sell them away. Another thing they can do is like there's never two showcase in the same booster box, so they can open a box, they find a showcase, they know for a fact that the rest of the booster don't have a showcase. Like they can repackage cards like this, and this way they can kind of strip you of any opportunities for you to get any really high value card from your boosters. I mean, there's still a part of randomness. You can still get some great card in the hyperspace fold slot, but overall your pack will have lower value than if you would buy like a. So people can repackage it. The only way to guarantee this to not be the case if the box is of course sealed with the official Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars Unlimited seal that is covering every single booster box when you buy them. So never buy an unsealed booster box. And obviously there's also cases of people who are capable of resealing booster box. If they open the box very delicately and put some super glue, and they can kind of reseal a booster box. So the risk zero does not exist, and I personally would always buy booster box from a trusted source, from someone that I know will never do something like this. So this is why I buy from my local game store. So there are other arguments to buying from the local game store rather than buying your booster box online. And the other factors to do this is simply to instead of buying from an unknown person online, is because you are obviously supporting your local business. Local game store is the place where you play the game. They will not support your game if you're not supporting them. It's a point I've been hammering home. Yes, local game stores are nice guys. Sometimes they're not, but most likely they are nice guys. But they are running a business. So if you are not supporting the store, if you always buy your booster box online just to save a little bit of money, you are not supporting local game store. If the game, if Star Wars Unlimited doesn't make money for the local game store, they will not support that game. And if they don't support that game, they will not run events, and this will hurt your community. So, in my opinion, always buy if possible, and if they don't propose outrageous prices, and if they don't and if they're actually organizing events and really an important part of the community, as much as possible, support your local game store. And obviously, one of the perks of buying from a local game store that you trust is that they're not going to do any weird shenanigans. They're going to sell you just regular sealed booster boxes. So it is a way to always a good way to buy your booster box, and this is where I always buy my booster box personally. The second point is to buy singles from friends you can't trade with. So sometimes you have friends that have card that you want, but they don't need any of the card that you own. So the best way to go about this is just to buy them the card, and usually players will be willing to sell that card for about the same price as it goes online. But the difference is that they will do it without, first of all, no problem with getting scammed, no problem with the package not arriving, no problem with actually spending money on the shipping cost. So as your first priority, if you are at the stage where you want to buy singles, to always try to buy singles from people around you in real life and get the cards immediately without having to pay shipping costs, rather than just try to buy them online. So obviously you don't always have enough friends to sell that cards that you're able to do that, but often in case you do. Personally, in Spark of Rebellion, I did not buy any cards online. All the singles that I bought them from friends who were able to propose me the lowest price without the shipping cost, which was really good for me. If nobody has the card you want, then your last resort is to buy singles on tier websites. And on tier websites, my personal advice, if you are in Europe, is Card Market. Card Market proposed the lowest price online that I've seen. It's obviously coming from other players, and obviously there's going to be a fee of buying on Card Market, and they're also going to have to buy shipping costs. But overall, it's if you don't have friends to buy from, it is going to be cheaper for you to buy cards on Card Market, and it's going to be more efficient than buying booster boxes. I can guarantee you this. So yeah, if you're in the US, I don't know which website is the best. A lot of people say TCG Market is the best for the US, but I know TCG Market is significantly more expensive than Card Market. Card Market has really shown me the lowest price I could see for singles on the internet. So it's a very good place to buy. I used it many times on Magic the Gathering. I still haven't bought a single Star Wars Unlimited card on Card Market, but I've bought some Magic card, and it always worked great from my experience. Once again, buy from your friends in priority, and if they don't have any cards, then buy on Card Market. Also, Card Market is an excellent indicator of the market in general and just the price of the card. So whenever I sell cards in real life, I always use Card Market as a reference to see what the card is cost. It's basically the reference in as far as Europe is concerned. And that's it. That's basically all my tips for collecting cards on Star Wars Unlimited. So if I have to summarize, I like to buy a couple of if you really don't care about the fun of opening booster box or the fun of trading cards, then the most efficient way to get yourself the competitive deck is to simply buy them, all of them, as singles from your friends or for people around you, to just buy from them. And then the step 2 is to basically the most efficient way. Get yourself some friends who play the game, who open a lot of booster box, get their commons and uncommons, and then buy their rares and legendaries. That is the most efficient way to get yourself the cards you need for the game. There's no more efficient way. If you don't have access to this, then you go on Card Market. You can simply buy singles on Card Market, and that's going to work too. But obviously, if you do this, you're going to be missing out on a big part of the internet experience, which is, as I said, opening boosters is fun, trading cards is fun. So, me personally, my strategy is to do something a little bit in between, where I buy my first 2 or 3 boxes, and then after this, I proceed in buying singles. I also wanted to touch on, I see a lot of people who like to buy booster box, like cases and cases and cases of booster box. And this is an absolute waste of money. I see people buying as high as 24 booster box, stuff like this. So I mean, I can see like if you're like a collector and you're interested in trying to complete a complete set, then you need to buy a lot of booster box. That makes sense. But if you're not one of those people, buying that many booster box is only going to bring you frustration and is going to be super inefficient. You will end up with the card that you want, but you end up spending tremendous amount of money, and good luck selling or trading away all the spare cards that you have, all the cards you're not going to need. It's going to be a lot of work, and you're going to end up just spending way more money than what you would have otherwise. So uh, no, you do not need to have 6 cases of booster boxes in order to play Star Wars Limited. Just 2-3 boxes is way enough for the majority of people. Once again, it depends on your objective, but for the majority of people, I can guarantee you that uh, buying 2 or 3 booster boxes is way enough to cover 90% of your need in terms of the card that you're gonna need. With all that being said, I hope this video was useful. And if you like that type of content, let me know, and please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.